is aging. Aging is a blessing. And that's not what most people think about when they speak about aging. And some people never get a chance of aging. You have to remember that. Of course, I must say that it's always challenging to give a talk. Those who did so know how I feel, especially with my extra difficulty to speak fluently your language. I left the States 50 years ago, so lost a lot of it. Most of you were here when I gave a talk on the complete spiral of life. And if you, Joe, could you put down the first drawing so we can cover the main episodes we cross from conception to death. Conception starts at the bottom where you see a few spots and a line, black line. That's where life on Earth starts. People cannot see us yet, but we're there. And the birth occurs where you see the two parallel lines at the end of the first loop. Before that, we're in the womb. So that's where life begins on Earth for each of us. Then we go through infancy, first years, many years spent with mommy most of the time. Then we go through childhood, more with daddy and other kids, until we become teenagers. That's when we start to learn how to say our love to somebody else. It's very frightening at first. And after a few tries, we can perhaps get married, have children, then get a job. We're adult. And during that period, most of us, I'd say, go through the midlife crisis. And it's important to acknowledge that point. It's the time where we say, my life cannot just be what it looks like. It could be something else, something much better. So we reach, going further up, maturity, or we don't. If we attempt something to, like you do, or we all do over here, but some people don't even try. And finally, the two lines at the top you see on the left, that's start of retirement and of old age until the last part where it ends there, it's death as we know it, with that, what you say, the little dots. We don't know what happens before, after, and the line. That's where life as we know it ends on Earth. Today we'll cover more in detail the last loop, which concerns many of us, but it's worthwhile knowing about it even at a younger age, just to be prepared to what's going to happen. On the second drawing, we see a choice. The choice is between the red and green lines. And we have all these choices during the last years of our life. It's nice knowing we still have a choice. Even if we missed many things before, we still have a choice. It's a great opportunity. First of all, what happens when we retire? We might experience the end of 7 ingredients of our previous life, that of an adult. And some people refer to these ends as the 7 trumpets of apocalypse. So I'll go quickly through what's written here. That's the 7 endings, and I'll tell you what those endings are, but I guess many of you know things end when you retire. Just to go through the red or green, we can either just be a retired man or woman looking for distractions, maybe spending a lot of time babysitting grandchildren, or we can fulfill a service for life. become our own self-master. The second part, we have dependency. We either go through this part praying, becoming more wise, having faith. Otherwise, we're just suffering and blaming others for our condition. We might be invalid. We might be just a number in the hospital, and we remain sick and desperate. Then one day a doctor tells us we have just a few weeks or a few months to live, or we have an accident, leaves us crippled. We don't know. So either we stay worried and we complain about this health or no more health. We're uneasy with solitude. We feel helpless, and we're just a fussing old man or woman. I guess you know people like that. Or we can go through those stations of the cross, meaning we have some places. I'm not going to go through that much today, but it's getting worse and worse as we come close to that. But we can cross them another way. We can establish a dialogue with what's invisible, with what we could call a vital energy force. And when we get to death, either we agonize, we have no awareness whatsoever what's going on, and we are lost in death. But the choice is conquering death, have a glimpse of eternal life. Then we fall asleep like what we call dormition, and we can become ordinary saints. Not extraordinary, but ordinary saints. So you can let this drawing leave the screen, Joe, now. I'll ask for it another time later on. So what are those 7 ends? It's the end of our job, the end of active life, of our job for most of us. The end of sexuality, or at least its decrease. The end of health, as we used to feel all right. All of us know we don't feel as well as we used to. It's also the end of beauty. I'm speaking about external beauty. Not only our wrinkles on our face, but even our body cannot keep its previous nice shape. It's also the end of long trips. And later on, we even stay at home or at last in a bed and can't move anymore. It's also the end of importance in our family. We are old folks. If we're invited, we stay at the far end of the table among old folks. And anyway, family decisions are not ours anymore. And it's at last, the 7th one, it's even a reversal of time. Less memory. We don't look forward our next birthday, but rather consider it's 1 year less in our lives. So during the first part of old age, as we looked at it before, after retirement, we can still move and have some activities. Do we get bored? Do we try to keep busy with distractions? Do we become babysitters of grandchildren to help our children? It's not a bad thing to do, but we must not keep all our time doing this. It's more the quality of time we spend with our grandchildren than the quantity of hours. Or do we attempt to find how we can fulfill a service for life? Life was given to us. What can we give life in return? That's doing what we came for. At first, we don't even know what we came for. But we're the only person able to perform a specific help, whether it's for other humans, for animals, for nature, for plants, whatsoever. The range is wide. Then the second part is where we are more or less dependent on account of body or mind ailments. Finally, we might be condemned to die in a few weeks or a few months when a doctor finds an illness that can't be cured. And he informs us of this fatal diagnosis. And we don't get away from that rendezvous the same way we came in. There are other priorities. Of course, death can happen before on account of an accident. That can happen at any time of our life. If you could put the drawing back on the screen, thank you, Joe. So on the drawing, there are 4 cardinal points. That's what's written in black. You see retirement, the 7 endings I told you about, dependency, fatal diagnosis or accident, and death. The game of life has other rules at this time of our life. We experience 3 challenges, each of them asking from us to stay whole, purposeful, and faithful to our true self. The words in red refer to your true self in becoming whom you really are. We heard that sentence before. The words in green account for a passive way of living through these years. Now you can remove the drawing, Joe. Thank you. I make you work a lot today. I'll go more in detail, like I said, during the first part of the loop. We can stay aside, just a retired old folk looking for distractions, traveling, and or spending most of our time babysitting the grandchildren. When our work is behind us, our job, social life is less important. You no longer serve a purpose for society, and you might feel useless. Some people are so depressed when they must retire that they commit suicide. I guess you've heard about those things too. Someone who feels his life is worthless might go crazy, become sick, and most likely will end up in a rest home. But there is another choice we can make. Become what I call master of ourself, of oneself, with mercy for us and for others. We can see the light radiating in other human beings, as Thomas Merton saw, and help that light to shine more. We can help the light we see in other people shine more. If you achieve peace within yourself, if you smile to your own shortcomings, if you show tenderness for the wounded body, for the rebellious child inside of you, then you'll be able to serve where you can help. A smile of tenderness, that's the old folks' yoga practice. A smile of tenderness for ourselves is the old folks' yoga practice. And before dependency, you'll probably experience small losses. Your ears don't hear well, your eyes can't see small characters, you feel less energy, more tired, and so on. I don't need to tell you all about, most of you know what happens when we get old. But you're still able to do things, to do something from your life, of your life. And that's of utmost importance. If you had no time whatsoever, as it was the case previously, you had to take care of the job, the spouse, the children, your social life, then it would be normal to prioritize those, to focus on these priorities. But now, after retirement, there's no excuse. Life points out where our responsibility lies, having no career and really nothing much to do except what we think we should do. Our health condition allows us to achieve 3 kinds of services, which I'll describe now. They give meaning, direction at this stage of our lives, and we can show solidarity in 3 ways. I'll describe in detail what are those 3 ways. The first one that many of you know about is humanitarian solidarity. We must engage in reducing misery on earth. There are people who are too poor. They must cost us some money and some time. For some people, it's more, again, like I said, with animals or with nature, whatever. Of course, those people, if it's our people, they are too poor to be concerned by spirituality. We owe them love, mercy, which life doesn't give them. All of us have our poor people to help. It's already a service that avoids us from being sent to a rest home. Not only for them, it's good for us too. We serve a purpose. Second utility, or second solidarity. If we pacified our own story, and we should have achieved this, at least we're practicing it every Sunday, at least, then we owe solidarity to our parents. It's the least that can be done. Whether our parents are still alive or not, we can make a more peaceful relationship with them just by thinking about them. Of course, there's solidarity also for your brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, even uncles and aunts when needed. This family solidarity is not the same as the material or humanitarian solidarity, because it has to do with pacifying, bringing peace. And we don't do this to be sure that peace will come, but we can do our part. Since you appease yourself, you can promote peace and reconciliation in your own family. Your own spiritual life helps you to reach peace, and it should radiate throughout your family. Don't take sides in quarrels. And the second point is that within your family, you don't need to hide your spiritual life. You can say, yes, each Sunday I'm going to follow my meditation. Yes, I like it. You must not try to convince them, and you must not blame those who have no spiritual life. Don't ask them to accept what you believe in, but you should ask them to listen to your conviction. They have the right to refuse your belief, to completely disagree, but you should tell them where your belief stands. Family is a test. If you cannot say that in your own family, how can you say it to other people out of your family? And we have the right to believe the way we do without any provocation. And I get to the third part. Remember, humanitarian, family, and now is spiritual service solidarity. When you received for yourself what improved your life, it becomes possible to share your conviction, to share in your own way the teaching you received. There are quite a few people among us who do just that when they show up and lead a talk. They deserve our gratitude, and they help Joe, of course. This experience brings something that's absolutely delicious. Every time you engage in a spiritual service, you are directly connected with the best part of yourself, your true self. And the more yourself, the best you feel, in harmony with your soul. Our first experience of spiritual practice gives us a taste of this. That is, when you listen to an inspiring talk, and we listen to one at least once a week over here. When you read some writings of wise people, or some poems, when you attend a retreat, if this experience is to last, you must get involved in those three solidarities according to your own capacities and environment. Since my job is behind me, since the children are gone, since I have some free time, why do they not fill my program, my everyday life, those three solidarities? At first, it might be 5 or 10% of my time, a few meetings here and there. Then more and more, might reach one day 90% of our time. Then we feel our life has a purpose. It makes you feel so good when you do this. I can testify to that. It makes you feel so good that even physical pains are forgotten during the time you do it, because you are your true self. This is the first experience after we retire and before we become dependent, before we need help in our everyday life. During that time, this first part, we encounter small losses. And these losses in our external world invite us to find a counterpart inside of ourselves. What can be gained from the loss? Service gifts. Otherwise, idleness shows up during this time. Since nothing is compulsory outside, we are bored, we feel useless. What makes old people feel very bad or become crazy is because they don't feel any purpose. They think my life is not worth anything anymore. When we just don't know what to do at this time, we try to fill the days just to keep busy and not think about how we feel. This accounts for a crazy way of aging. It leads to dementia. It's the consequence of going throughout all of this first part of aging, having plenty of free time and not doing anything with it, anything worthwhile, I mean. I'm reaching about the end of this talk, but I'll let you with 3 matters on which you can ponder, not reflect, not think, but ponder. Can you smile to yourself in the mirror with wrinkles, gray or white hair, aging features? That's the first question. The second one, can you resonate and be inspired by beauty you feel inside some old people? Can you resonate with it? Can you feel inspired? Just because they are there, you feel better. And the third question, you might ponder on the challenge that you just heard about. You could look at your own life and consider in which solidarities you're already involved. I think you should say in English, which solidarities you're already involved in. What else could be achieved? In your life, what else could you do? Nothing great, just helping the way you can. And of course, this question comes back often during our meditation time. Very important question. What could really give a meaning to my life? What could really give a meaning to my life?